Welcome everybody. The webinar today is to look at the cost of ignoring data management in your SAP transformation. I'm Graham Mead and I'll be doing the presentation, and I'll be also being supported by Rebecca, who's doing the background work, as it were. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is I'm going to cover a little bit about Proceed and who we are and what we do, if you don't already know. And then we're going to talk about why data management and archiving, how we recommend you get started, and then we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A session at the end. Okay, a little bit about Proceed. We're a very niche consultancy. We specifically focus on SAP archiving and decommissioning and content management for enterprise businesses. So we're very specific in that area. We obviously, because of the factors that we're quite niche, we also have a lot of partners. So we obviously partner with SAP, or we're a gold partner with SAP. We have a global service level agreement with them, and we deliver a lot of pre-sales for SAP, specifically talking about archiving and their journey to SAP HANA, etc. And we've been saving a lot of their customers a lot of money along the way. And as you would expect, we also have other partners within the space other than SAP. We work with OpenText, Easy Software, and then the hyperscalers like Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, etc. And also the consultancies which do a lot of the migration work like KPMG, SMP, Zenity, and T-Systems. So yeah, and with that partnership worldwide, we've got 14 offices dotted around the world on most of the continents, and within those areas, those theatres, we've got 750 plus customers built up over the last 20 years that we've maybe even more than that now, 20 plus years, where we've been doing this type of activity. So that's a little bit about Proceed. And who are our customers? So this is a small example of the 750 customers we've got worldwide. We cover, I'd say, probably pretty much every industry sector: retail, manufacturing, etc., food, drink, finance. I can go on. And there's an example of some of those customers we've worked with or are working with around the world. Some of the names you may know. Maybe hopefully a few of them you may know, and some of you may not, but there's a lot of people using SAP. Okay, so why data management and archiving? Let's have a look at under the bonnet. So I'm sure everybody who's on the call or will have unnecessary and wasteful data in your SAP system. We're not very good at keeping our house in order, and as we find other customers. So you can always improve the amount of data within your system, and it's really only one way of doing it is to archive the data out. The other analogy is obviously if you're moving to S4 or the cloud, you wouldn't move everything from your old car to your new car. As you know, when you move one car to another, that's the point where you have a good tidy out and get as much out as possible. And the same applies with SAP. If you're moving to the cloud or S4, you would have a good tidy out and make sure you only take what you need. And obviously, even with an existing car or with a new car, the less stuff you carry around in it, the better the miles per gallon. The more efficiently it will run, the better the performance. So, keeping things tidy is the best policy within data management. If you're doing the transformation or not, it's always good practice. Data management is becoming more critical. In the past, only 1 in 3 SAP customers manage their data, which is quite a scary statistic if you think about it, based on the age of SAP and how long SAP has been used within organisation. Now, very much in the past, it's been something that's not necessarily needed to be done. So customers didn't feel it was important to do data management. That's changing, and the value of reducing and controlling data growth before and after moving to S4 Cloud migration is very important. But why do so few customers do this? And as we know, with any big project, ERP project, archiving was supposed to be implemented at the end of the project, but it wasn't done. Didn't feel that it was important enough. Initially, the system didn't have performance issues, so why do we worry about it? We've got no performance issues. Why is there a problem? We don't have complicated compliance issues. We don't have data in our system that we have to worry about. We ran out of money. We don't have a very big database. We will just buy more disk. We can't afford to do the archiving, or let's wait and let it be someone else's problem. So, you know, they're all the good reasons why a lot of people haven't done data management and archiving in their SAP systems before. But this is now changing. Data is growing exponentially within most organizations. The ERP systems are becoming bigger, and they're having to process more data. And obviously, if you have an archive and need the data out of it, you're going to have a very long tail of data as well. So there's just more data in your system. The impact on total cost of ownership of their transformation, obviously the drive for any migration to S/4HANA or the cloud, the board is going to want to see the total cost of ownership reduced. If you take all your data over, the new systems are going to be more expensive, etc., etc. So this drives there. In many cases, the costs delay the transition. The more data you're going to migrate, the more difficult it is to do it within a time scale, the more complex it's going to be. So again, it increases the cost and the time it takes to do it. The need to reduce the risk is essential. So data creates risk. Too much data creates risk, as in losing the data, having data you shouldn't have, etc., etc. And then finally, in-memory costs. So the likes of S/4HANA, etc. It's expensive to have a lot of data in tier 1 storage. So therefore, both the migration is expensive, the new system is expensive, and if you don't continue to manage it, it will continue to grow and it will just become more expensive. So the answer is to get better at data management and better control the size of your system. And that's why it's becoming more critical. So the 4 key benefits of archiving, and there probably won't be any surprise based on what I was just talking about earlier. The first one, and the quickest one, is obviously improves system performance. So without having to build more application servers or growing the system from a performance perspective, just reduce the size of the data will increase performance. Less data on the active database improves the day-to-day operations, backups, etc. The faster system response times will also be felt by the users, and less downtime as well. TCO, RPO is also affected. Reducing costs. So obviously, when you're moving to more of a sort of a service model, i.e. in the cloud, if you can reduce the size of your hardware or your storage, this reduces the cost of software maintenance, etc. And streamline compliance, retention, and reporting, i.e. the risk of being fined, etc. For having data you shouldn't have applies here as well. Simplification of migration. So therefore, the better your data is managed in your current system, your move to S/4HANA and or the cloud is going to, one will be a simpler process, a quicker process, and less risk when you move into the new world. And key one here for a lot of organizations, reduces the migration time. And then, as I touched on earlier, reducing costs and risk. There's obviously meeting regulatory compliance. If you've got data in your system that you shouldn't have, and you need to meet the regulatory compliance, archiving is another way that you can hit that process and be making sure that you do comply to the regulations. So this is just a graphical representation of what we just talked about earlier, and the potential savings with data archiving, and just what happens with and without continual management. So this situation here is the fact is that you have done no archiving. So you've got, linear increase of cost over time. So the second scenario, so you run an archiving project. What the archiving project does, it pushes down the size of the system, so you reduce your system by at least 25%, and you've made some potential savings going forward. But even though you are archiving, you've done an archiving project, if you don't continually manage it, the system is just going to grow. So you're just delaying the inevitable. The fact is the system will get too big again, and you either have to run another archiving project or you run the archiving again to reduce it. But the third scenario is our preferred way. So with retention management and regular archiving via, we have our Proceed archiving service, you can reduce the growth down and limiting it as low as 2%. So not only are you gaining the reduction, you're also gaining the reduction forever, i.e. you're making sure your system no longer moves back into those higher sizes. This is important, especially when you're in the cloud and you're paying for the storage, or for any growth of storage immediately. It becomes very important that you continually manage your system. Proceed as approach, and we'll go through it in a little bit more detail later on. We take the approach to right size your systems when you're moving from, in this example, a 5-bedroom house to a luxury studio apartment, and that's what the analogy we use for moving from ECC, say, to S/4HANA. So the Proceed right sizing tool helps us as Proceed to optimize your data volumes. We can assess. The assessment runs on the SAP system. We can identify what can be archived versus what can be deleted, and implementing SAP data archiving, i.e. it will give us a plan to what we need to do to reduce the size of the system. So we move you from a 5-bedroom house to a luxury apartment, and the results achieved are significant. Most data savings range from 33 to 90% savings. 1 terabyte is £1 million per terabyte per hyperscaler infrastructure cost savings. Quite easy to get the return on investment on that. And the average size before archiving again just gives you an idea as regards to the amount of data that we can save. But the important thing is that we have the tools to help you on that journey. This is just a breakdown of the specific sectors or type of organization and some of the typical things we see as regards to the database size before and after, the savings that we would expect. And some areas we have higher savings than others, depending on the type of data that can be archived or the retention policies required and residency policy required to run your organization. But we have saved, as the headline says on the left, significant amounts worth of data so far. And if you equate that to the amount of money which has been saved by organizations, it is significant. Okay, so customer success stories. So we've obviously been doing it over the archiving over a number of years, and we've done it with a number of customers over a number of different sectors, and we have some success stories or case studies. And I'm just going to run through a sample of those now. So this is Croda International, the big chemicals organization, and we did right sizing and archiving. The key for me on this is the fact is that we had a significant database reduction. We reduced our system by 2.9 terabytes, which is 80%. We were able to, on average, remove out of their system across the different archiving objects. And I won't necessarily read the quote, but obviously what Paul from Croda is saying is the fact is that the significant savings they had moving from a very large 3.4 terabyte system down to under half a terabyte is it paid for the return on investment in less than 2 years. So we're talking about return on investment earlier and how important it is. And that's an easy sell. You know, it's not your board isn't going to deny you that. It's an easy sell. Okay, so this is a short video that we're going to play from on YouTube. I will shut up while it's playing. Thank you.
Croda International is a global chemicals company delivering into consumer care and pharmaceutical markets. I'm the Croda IT Operations Director, running the global infrastructure and systems at Croda. When we were starting our SAP HANA migration project, we realized that the size of the database would be giving us a very high cost to run it in memory. We then talked to the Proceed group to see how archiving of our database would be helping us to make the business case much better. The Proceed group helped us with implementing ILM and helping us to reduce the size of the database. We were able to go from a 3.5 terabyte to 0.5 terabyte database today. So a factor 7 of reduction, making the business case of the HANA project much better at the end, saving of cost. It was very good to work with the Proceed group because they were specialists in archiving and helped us a lot with implementing the rules, not only to do the archiving, but also to put in retention rules on the data. With the HANA migration being completed, we are now ready for the S4 upgrade, which will drive the business to change its processes and improve the performance of the business. Thanks to the support of the Proceed group, we now have a much cleaner SAP system.
So yes, that was good to get that feedback from Croda. We've also been, another case study, we've also been working quite extensively in public sector. We've currently working with Gloucester County Council. Again, it wasn't the biggest system in the world, but the headlines are still as good. We were able to obviously reduce the volume by 64%, and we're now managing their system on a day-to-day basis to ensure that their growth is down to at least 1 to 2%. And I think the significant thing on that is that they're now just embarking on their S4HANA migration, and they've realized is that this has been critical to getting them to that point where they can do that migration. So it's a long-running project and still running. So how can Proceed get you started? So we have quite a, like you say, like I said earlier, we've been doing this for over 20 years. We have quite a broad experience of doing this type of projects, and we have quite a clean process of how we implement archiving for customers. Our team of experts have done, like I just said, I've done hundreds of projects. We've got more SAP ILM consultants than the other organisation, and the key to our consultants is they really do understand both archiving and how SAP works functionally as well, so we can really drive the benefits both from the archiving and the business processes. So we have a 4-step process. The first is a data assessment. This is a complementary SAP data assessment. We request some high-level information from your system, if it be archiving or not archiving, and then from that we can immediately identify potential opportunities of where we can save data, or we can see improvements in saving data. That will then lead into if you want to proceed with a project, that would then proceed into a data deep dive, and that's really what we talk about when we talk about right sizing. We use the same tool we do the right sizing. We do a very we look at the system in detail. We look at the data both broadly from an age perspective, but also from an organisational perspective. So with sales organisation, within finance, company codes, within manufacturing works codes, etc. So plants. So we look at it multi-dimensional, and we can look at where the best opportunities are within that deep dive, and really tell you how we're going to deliver the project. And that's what the right sizing tool is all about. And then on that, at that point, we've then got an archiving project. So based on what we understand from the deep dive, we then say, okay, this is the archiving that needs to be delivered. And we use a very simple SAP methodology to deliver that the project and deliver the archiving to the productive system. And then the final part is like I was saying, continuing to manage. A lot of organisations, one of their big expenses or costs can be the resources to continue to or run the archiving. That's training people up to know what they're doing, to manage it, etc. We now offer a service where we do that run management for you. We do the day-to-day running, we do the gross management, we do reporting management, and we do support. So the whole package is there. That will be a separate webinar when we cover that. So that's in a nutshell. It's a 4-step approach that we take. Okay, so that's me at the end of the webinar as regards to me talking, and I think I've done it in sort of almost record time, so within the time. And I just really was, there are any questions, and Rebecca, if we had any questions, come over.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of questions. We've got a few more minutes left, so if anyone does have any questions, you need to just enter them into the question box at the bottom of your screen there. But we've got a couple around the data assessment. The first one is just what sort of data do you need to do the assessment?
So we only need a little bit of data. It's a transaction called DB02. It's in the data cockpit in SAP. It's essentially a dump of your table sizes, table names, number of extensions, and all sorts of things like that. And from that we can do the analysis. There's some financial data as well that we provided, which helps us with how old the system is, etc. And from that we can produce quite a detailed assessment. That's all we need. So yeah, not very much data is required.
Okay, great. And then just following on from that, how long does the data assessment take?
So normally we say probably anywhere between 2 to 3 days. It's actually quite quick for us to process the data. What takes us a little bit of time is we do get our experts to pore over the results to come back with a very definitive idea as regards to the amount of data we can save and where we can save it. So we normally say 2 to 3 days.
Okay, brilliant. And that's the end of the questions. We haven't had any more through. But like we said, send the recording round and all the supporting material.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I hope you found it useful, and hopefully talk to you soon.